28. We fought again over his mistress. You have shame. You've had a death in your womb at 21. If you're so lonely, why don't you go out and find someone yourself? He really sent me out to look. Then, they'll find him and show him, standing barefoot amidst the broken glass. A stinging sensation shot through my soles, but I could no longer feel it. The words Lu Sikhen had spat out 3 minutes ago when he slammed the door were still buzzing in my ears. You want dignity. If you wanted dignity, would you have followed me at 17? If you wanted dignity, would you have been lying with me at 18? If you wanted dignity, would you have had a dead child inside you at 21? I was stunned. He was stunned too. I saw a flicker of panic in his eyes. As if he were saying, how could I have said that? But he didn't apologize. He just paused at the doorway for a second, his back to me, and dropped his parting words. Isn't everyone in this circle like this? Just be a good rich wife. If you're really lonely, can't you go out and find someone too? The door slammed shut. The loud bang made my ears ring and sent the cups and jars in the living room rattling a few more times. I looked down at the mess on the floor. The blue and white porcelain vase had bought at auction last year for 800,000 yuan, saying it looked good with the gardenias I arranged. Now it lay in more than a dozen pieces at my feet. And the photo frame. That was our picture from our first year of marriage. He had his arm around me, laughing exuberantly under the fireworks in Port City. The glass shattered on the floor, and the photograph slid out, landing on the shards. I slowly squatted down and picked up the photo. My fingertips traced his face. How young he was then, with a light in his eyes. His arm around me so tightly, as if I would run away if he loosened his grip. Go out and find. I softly repeated the words, suddenly feeling like laughing. I really did laugh. The laughter echoed in the empty living room, sounding like crying. The phone lit up. WeChat messages popped up one after another. It was Lin, Lu Sikhen's mistress, who had just turned 20. I had known about her since last year. Back then, she was still in college. And Lu Sikhen claimed she was a friend's niece he was looking after. Later, looking after turned into something more intimate. I caught them once, and he explained that he had too much to drink and told me not to overthink it. I wasn't throwing a tantrum. By then, I no longer threw tantrums. Sister, are you asleep? Brother Chin is here with me. He's had a bit to drink. Don't worry. Oh, and sister, I have some good news to tell you. I'm pregnant. He said he wants to set off fireworks to celebrate for me, even more spectacular than the ones he set off for you back then. Attached at the end was a photo. Lu Sikhen leaned against the sofa, eyes closed, resting, while Lin nestled on his shoulder, giving a peace sign to the camera. I stared at the photo for a long time. His tie was askew, and there was a lipstick stain on his collar. His eyes were closed, his brow furrowed slightly, as if he were having a bad dream. I exited the chat window and opened another. It was my chat history with Lu Sikhen. The last message was from 3 days ago, when I asked if he was coming home for dinner, and he said he was busy, flipping upwards. Such conversations were dense. Are you coming back tonight? Entertaining clients. And tomorrow, business trip. Are you free this weekend? Well, see. Flipping further up, back to many years ago. Back then, his profile picture was still a photo of us together. His replies were still on my way, and his nickname for me was still husband. Wani, come downstairs. I brought you a late night snack. In a meeting. I'll be back later. You go to sleep first. Don't wait for me. Miss you. What year was that? I can't recall. I flipped my phone face down on the ground and stood up. A sharp pain shot up from the soles of my feet as shards of glass dug into my flesh. I glanced down, paid it no mind, and walked barefoot across the debris onto the balcony. The night wind in late March was still quite cool. I pushed open the glass door. and the cold air immediately rushed into my pajamas. I shivered, but didn't pay it any attention, leaning on the railing. I sat down. The villa district was very quiet. A few scattered lights flickered in the distance, and no one noticed the person sitting on the balcony. I looked down at my feet, suspended. When I was a child, I was afraid of heights. The first time I went to the mountaintop with Lu Sikhen to see the night view, I refused to go near the railing, no matter what. He laughed at me for being a coward, then picked me up horizontally, saying, "Wan-ee, don't be afraid. I'm holding you." Later, I wasn't afraid anymore, because he truly held me for many years, until these past 2 years. His grip loosened. The sky suddenly brightened. I looked up, and a firework bloomed on the distant horizon. Then a second, a third. Colorful lights fell on my face, on my dangling feet. They were Linlin's fireworks. I watched her fireworks bloom, one by one, and then fade, bit by bit. They were truly beautiful, indeed, more magnificent than the ones from that year. During that year's fireworks, Lu Sikhen stood beside me, held my hand, and shouted into the crowd, "Shinwani, I'm going to marry you." At that moment, everyone in the venue turned to look at us. Some whistled, some applauded. He didn't care. He picked me up and spun me around until I was dizzy, laughing so hard tears streamed from my eyes. Now, watching these fireworks, I sit on the edge of a high-rise balcony, while he is beside another woman. When the fireworks ended, the sky darkened again. I remained on the railing, still in the same position. The wind dried the tear tracks on my face, and I suddenly felt something shatter inside me, something I had held onto for a long time, clutched so tightly, had broken in my hands. I climbed down from the railing and walked back into the living room. Stepping on broken glass really hurt, but I just glanced down and kept walking. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Lu Sikhen's assistant. "Tomorrow morning, help me schedule a meeting with the styling team. Also, contact the brand and have them send over all the new products for this season." After sending it, I tossed my phone onto the sofa and lay down. The crystal chandelier on the ceiling refracted tiny fragments of light. I closed my eyes. The events of my 17th year flashed before my eyes, one scene after another, like a movie. Back then, I was a poor student fresh out of the orphanage, studying on a scholarship, living in a 6-person dormitory, and eating the cheapest meals in the cafeteria. He was the crown prince of the Lu family in Port City, driving a sports car to school, always surrounded by a crowd. I don't know why he would take a liking to me. That day, I was working part-time at the library, while I was organizing the bookshelves. He suddenly appeared from behind and handed me a cup of milk tea. "This is for you." I was startled and almost fell off the ladder. He quickly steadied me, a wide grin on his face. "Be careful. It would break my heart if you fell." I was foolish back then. I didn't understand these kinds of lines. Blushing, I thanked him and ran off with the milk tea. After that, he came to the library every day. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes drinks, and sometimes he brought nothing at all. Just sat across from me reading for the entire afternoon. I asked him, "Don't you have class?" He said, "Accompanying you is more important than class." The librarians at the library knew him, and they would smile whenever they saw him. "Little Lu is here again." He wasn't ashamed at all and nodded, saying, "Yeah, chasing my wife." I was so embarrassed I wanted to crawl into a hole in the ground. Later, he pursued me so relentlessly that it became the talk of the town. The entire Hong Kong City University knew that the crown prince of the Lu family was pursuing a poor student from an orphanage. Some envied, some were jealous, and some waited to see a spectacle. I dodged him like a startled rabbit, but he didn't give up. That day, he waited downstairs at my doorman, in front of hundreds of people, shouted, "Shinwani, if you don't agree to me, I'll kneel here until dawn. And he really did kneel. He knelt for 3 hours. It was drizzling that day, and he just knelt there in the rain, his clothes soaked through, his hair plastered to his forehead, but his eyes were terrifyingly bright. Someone offered him an umbrella, but he refused. Someone advised him to give up, but he ignored them. I hid behind my dorm window, watching him, tears streaming down my face. My roommate pushed me. You go down. If you keep kneeling, someone will die. I went down. I stood before him, crying and saying, "Are you crazy?" He laughed, a truly happy laugh. "Yes, I'm sick, lovesick, and only you can cure me." Later, he told me that was the smartest decision he ever made. If I don't make a decisive move, he said, this little rabbit of yours will disappear without a trace. Back then, he probably truly loved me. At that time, I thought, this man probably wouldn't let me lose. On my 18th birthday, Lou Sikhen booked out the most expensive hotel in Port City and invited my entire class. I had never seen such a grand occasion. The crystal chandelier was bigger than my dorm room. The flowers on the dining table were bigger than my head. And a line of waiters stood ready to refill drinks and serve dishes. I tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "It's too expensive. Don't do this." He looked down and kissed me. "It's your birthday. You have to." As he cut the cake, he said in front of everyone, "Wan-ee, in a few years, well, get married." Someone heckled, "Young Master Liu, will your family agree to this?" He laughed brazenly. "I'm marrying a wife. What's it to them?" Later I realized, that was speaking too soon. Mrs. Liu found me herself at a very upscale coffee shop. She wore a qipao and a full set of jade jewelry, her gaze towards me like that of a shopper eyeing leftover produce at a market. "Miss Shin," she began without preamble, "Si Chin is young and foolish, but you should know better. The doors of the Liu family are not open to just anyone." I was young then, and I had my pride. I said, "Auntie, I didn't mean to come in." She sneered. "Didn't mean to come in? Then why were you clinging to him?" I couldn't speak. That night, when I got back, I told Liu Sikhen we were breaking up. He asked why, and I said your mother came to see me. Without a word, he grabbed me and ran towards the old house. As soon as we entered, in front of the whole family, he shielded me behind him. "Mom, I'm putting it out there today. Either she comes in, or I go out." Mrs. Liu's face turned ashen with anger. "Are you crazy?" "I'm not crazy," he said. "She's the only one I want in this life. If you don't agree, I'll be with her. If you don't acknowledge me, they'll pretend I don't have this family." He really moved out of the Liu family home and into the 10 square meter partitioned room I rented. In the summer, without air conditioning, he would go shirtless and fan me with a fan, fanning me all night long. In the winter, when the heating wasn't warm enough, he would cup my feet in his hands to warm them, saying, "Wani, why are your feet so cold? Are you anemic? They'll take you to see a TCM doctor tomorrow." That partitioned room didn't even have a window, so the lights had to be on during the day. But he never complained. Every morning, he would wake up early to make me breakfast, take me to school, and then head to his company. He had already started his own business back then, beginning from the very bottom. One day, I asked him, "Liu Sikhen, do you regret it?" He was peeling an orange for me, not looking up. "Regret what?" "Regretting falling out with your family for me." He handed me the orange, looking at me, his eyes full of stars. "Shinwani, listen carefully. The one thing I, Liu Sikhen, regret least in this life is pursuing you. The one thing I did most right was marrying you and bringing you home. The Liu family, the crown prince title, I can give all of that up. I only want you." I cried. He pulled me into his embrace. resting his chin on the top of my head, and softly said, "Silly girl, why are you crying? Our future is long, and we'll walk it together." At that moment, I thought it was worth it. Truly, it was worth it. When I was 20, we got our marriage certificate. There was no wedding, no blessings. Only 2 photos with red backgrounds. He spun me around in the rented room, making me dizzy. He said, "Wani, wait until I make a comeback, and I'll give you the grandest wedding in the entire city." Later, he truly made a comeback. Old Master Lu relented and allowed him to return to take over the family business. At first, he refused, saying he didn't want to go back and be upset. I persuaded him, saying, "That's your home. You should go back." He looked at me and asked, "Aren't you afraid of being wronged?" I held him. "With you here, I'm not afraid." He held me very tightly. On the wedding day, the entire city of Hong Kong saw the fireworks display. Half the city saw it. Those fireworks exploding in the night sky, forming the words Shinwani. He stood beside me, holding my hand, and shouted loudly in the crowd, "Shinwani, I'm going to marry you." Old Master Lu stood on the stage, his face grim, but Lu Sikhen held my hand the entire time, never letting go. When we exchanged rings, he looked into my eyes and said, "Wani, in this life, I only have you." I replied, "Me too." I truly believed then, believed in him, in us, in forever. One winter, when I was 21, something happened. I don't know the specifics of what occurred, only that Lu Sikhen was summoned back to the old family home and didn't emerge for the entire day. "You didn't answer my calls, and you didn't reply to my messages." In the end, I got anxious and took a taxi straight over. The Lu family's old mansion is on the mountain, and cars are not allowed to go further than the halfway point. I got out of the car and ran up, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my legs feeling weak. When I pushed open the door to the ancestral hall, I saw him kneeling on the ground. He knelt perfectly straight, his back to me. The old man stood before him, holding the family rod, a 2-finger thick plank of wood, dark and ominous, looking painful just to see. "Do you admit your mistake?" The old man's voice was very cold. Lu Sikhen said, "I was not wrong. You defied your mother and fell out with your family over a woman, and you call that not wrong. She is my wife." "What wife?" "Someone of her background, fit to enter my Lu family's door." Lu Sikhen raised his head, his voice firm. "Grandfather, I respect you as an elder, but please don't speak about her like that. She is the one I chose, and I stand by my decision." The old man trembled with anger, raising the wooden board, ready to strike. Without a second thought, I rushed forward and threw my arms around him. The plank landed squarely on my back. Pain. So much pain. I grunted and leaned my whole body against him. He turned and caught me, his face instantly paling. "Wani, Wani." I wanted to say I'm fine, but a sudden cramp seized my lower abdomen, like something was falling. I looked down and saw blood. The blood flowed down my leg, staining my trousers red, staining the tiles of the ancestral hall red. I don't remember much of what happened afterward. I only remember someone shouting, "He's bleeding." I only remember Lu Sikhen's hands shaking and his voice trembling as he held me and rushed outside. "Wani, don't sleep. Wani, look at me. Wani, I'm begging you." The next time I woke up, I was in the hospital. He was slumped by the bedside, his eyes red as a rabbit's, his beard unkempt, as if he hadn't slept for days. Seeing that I was awake, he grasped my hand, his voice hoarse beyond recognition. "Wan-ee, I'm sorry, the baby is gone, but in this life, I only have you, and I will not fail you." I was stunned for a moment. The baby. So I was pregnant, and just like that, the child was gone. I looked at him, at his tear-reddened eyes, at his hand gripping mine tightly. And suddenly, the pain didn't matter anymore. I smiled and said, "It's okay. We're still young." His tears fell, splashing onto the back of my hand. "Wani," he said, "you can hit me. You can curse at me. Anything. Just don't smile like that. I'm really okay." I said. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. "I swear," he said, "in this life, I will never let you down." I believed him. I truly believed him, with my memories reaching this point. I opened my eyes. The sky had brightened. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, falling onto the sofa, and onto me. I sat up on the sofa and saw a new message on my phone. My assistant replied, "Understood. Madam, the team will arrive at the house at 10 this morning." There was also a missed call from Lu Sikhen. I didn't call back. I went to the bathroom and washed my face, staring into the mirror for a long time. The woman in the mirror was 28 years old, with good skin and delicate features, but her eyes were empty. For the past few years, I've lived my life like a fake flower, neither competing nor quarreling, neither crying nor making a fuss, obediently staying in this gilded cage, navigating the world of fame and fortune, being his supportive wife. Yet, he still found fault with me. He found fault with the life that had died inside me. That sentence was like a needle, piercing my heart, impossible to pull out. I suddenly remembered what happened last year. That day, Lu Sikhen was drinking with friends in his study, and the door wasn't fully closed. I walked by and heard them talking. His friend asked him, "Brother Chin, how are you and your wife doing these days?" He took a sip of his drink. "Just the same. You know, I heard you've got someone on the outside." He let out a laugh. "Just for fun." His friend chuckled. "Does your wife know?" "You know, it wasn't a big deal. She's quite resilient. What else could she do but endure?" His voice was casual. "Where could she go, given her background?" Without me, I stood at the top of the stairs, my feet seemingly nailed to the spot. My friend asked again, "And how do you feel about her now?" There was a moment of silence. Then he said, "To be honest." "Go on." "We're practically family." The thought that someone died inside her, he said, makes me a little uncomfortable. My mind went blank. My friend paused, then asked him, "Wasn't that for you?" "I know," he said. "I know it's for me. That's why I've been holding back. But it doesn't stop me from feeling disgusted, does it?" I stood there, unmoving for a long time. I don't remember how I got back to my room later, only that he didn't come back that night. I lay in bed all night, staring at the ceiling until dawn. The next day, he returned, and I cooked for him as usual, asked him if he was tired as usual, and played the part of the virtuous wife as usual. He didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. From then on, I suppose I changed. I no longer wait for him to come home, no longer ask where he goes, no longer check his phone. If he came back, I would smile. If he didn't, I wouldn't ask. When he attended events with other women, I stayed home and read, never making a scene. He probably thought I had become sensible. He didn't know that my heart had simply died. At 10 in the morning, the image team arrived on time. The team leader was a man named Ah Ken, who spoke with a lisp but had a sharp eye. He circled me 3 times, scrutinizing me from head to toe for a long while, then clapped his hands. "Oh my goodness, Mrs. Liu, your natural beauty is just incredible. Who's been doing your hair all these years? They should be shot. They've turned you into a middle-aged noblewoman." I smiled. "Then I'll leave it to you." For the next 3 hours, I underwent the most intensive pampering of my life, trying on clothes, shoes, bags, and accessories. Ah Ken had piles of clothes thrown onto me as they were being put on. Head shake his head, then push them all aside and personally pick out a few items for me. Mrs. Liu, he said, you need to remember, you're 28 this year, not 82. Throw away those old-fashioned colors and styles. You need to wear bright colors. Wear clothes that show off your figure. Wear things that make people's eyes light up. I looked at myself in the mirror, feeling a little dazed. It was a red dress, simply cut, but on me, it seemed to make my whole being glow. I hadn't worn red in a long time. In the first 2 years of my marriage, red was my favorite color to wear. He said I looked good in red, like a ball of fire, making his heart itch. Later, he frowned and told me that being Mrs. Liu required dignity, and red was too ostentatious. So I stopped wearing it. Now, looking at this ball of fire in the mirror, I suddenly feel a little estranged. This one, I said. In the afternoon, people from the brand arrived, bringing this season's new products. Shoes, bags, jewelry. They filled the living room. I sat on the sofa, looking at each item. When I liked something, I nodded, and the person next to me would make a note of it. Honestly, being a rich wife is quite the life. I was never like this before. With the supplementary card he gave me, I barely used it a few times a year. When buying clothes, I'd have to check the price tag. When buying a bag, I'd wonder if it was too expensive. Jewelry was something I didn't even dare to touch, afraid he'd accuse me of being extravagant. Now I understand. It's not like I'm paying for it anyway. What's there to be reluctant about when I'm spending his money? In the evening, I changed into new clothes, put on new makeup, and drove out. I went to a club, recommended by Ah Ken. He said it was a new spot in the Hong Kong socialite scene, and a lot of people were hanging out there. I parked my car at the entrance and walked in, my heels clicking on the floor. The receptionist blinked in surprise for a moment, then greeted me warmly. Good evening, madam. Do you have a reservation? I smiled. Newcomer. I want to sign up for a membership. After finishing the membership registration, I took a look around inside. Some people were playing tennis, some were drinking coffee, and some were gossiping. I found a corner to sit down and ordered a drink. After sitting for a while, someone walked over. It was a man, dressed casually, quite good-looking, and he looked a bit familiar. Shinwani. He called out to me. I looked up at him. Gu Shin. He introduced himself. Liu Sikhen's old friend. That pause was interesting. I remember now. Gu Shin, the crown prince of the Gu Corporation, has been Liu Sikhen's arch-rival since college. Rumor has it they've fought over projects and caused trouble over women. In short, they're like fire and water. Is there something you need? I asked. He gave a slight laugh. It's nothing major. I just heard Mrs. Liu has started to socialize again and wanted to make her acquaintance. The women beside her exchanged glances. Someone whispered, Gu Shin. Isn't that from Gu Corp? The one who's at odds with Liu Sikhen. I put down my cup and stood up. Let's go. Let's talk outside. Outside the bar, the night wind was a little cool. Gu Shin leaned against the wall and lit a cigarette. Mrs. Liu is very direct. What do you want? Nothing. He exhaled a puff of smoke. I just wanted to ask you, Liu Sikhen, have I treated you well all these years? I didn't say anything. He looked at me, his smile fading slightly. It seems not. What does that have to do with you? It doesn't matter. He stubbed out his cigarette. I just wanted to see how the man who cut ties with his family to marry you would eventually ruin you. I was silent for a moment. Then suddenly I laughed. You want to win him over, don't you? He raised an eyebrow. You're not interested in me, I said. You just want to sleep with his wife and make him miserable. Gu Shin paused, then burst out laughing. Shinwani, you're quite clever. So you've come to the wrong person. I'm not the kind of woman who'll be used as a pawn. I turned to leave. He said from behind me. What if I told you I could help you? I stopped. Help you leave him? He walked over and stood before me. I'll help you get revenge. Help you get back what you want. The condition is, he has to know it was me. I looked into his eyes. In them, I saw calculation, amusement, and a hint of something I couldn't quite decipher. Think about it carefully, he said, although I'm not a good person myself. But compared to him, at least I'm not pretending. I thought for a long time. A very long time. Finally, I said, I need time to think. I'll be waiting. In the days that followed, I was like a changed person. Every morning, I woke up at 6 and went downstairs to run. I used to hate sports, but now I find that when I run, my mind can be completely blank. I go to the club 3 times a week to learn horseback riding, oil painting, and flower arranging. Things that I used to find boring are now surprisingly enjoyable. I've started dressing up seriously, changing my clothes and makeup every day. Ken said I had a good foundation, and with a little polish, I could stun the crowd. As expected, people slowly started to notice me. In the club, people began to approach me first. At dinner parties, they started handing me business cards, and even on the street, people would turn their heads to look at me. I remained indifferent to it all, offering a faint smile, a nod, and continuing with my business. Lou Sikhen's bank card was flooded with daily spending notifications. Equestrian Club annual fee, deducted 88,000. VCA jewelry, deducted 326,000. Dior Haute Couture pre-order, deducted 157,000. Private image team monthly service fee, deducted 65,000. I never touched his money before, but now I spend it with a clear conscience. That evening, I was trying on a new dress when my phone rang. It was a message from Lou Sikhen. Spending a lot of money lately. I looked at the message and smiled. He never cared how much I spent before, because he knew I didn't spend much. Now that he's suddenly asking, is he feeling the pinch? I didn't reply. After a while, he sent another message. It's good. Buy it if you like it. I still didn't reply. I put down my phone and continued trying on dresses. The woman in the mirror wore a dark green long dress, her collarbones subtly revealed, her waist cinched just right. She looked at her reflection, a faint smile playing on her lips. Is that me? It seems so. And yet, it doesn't. But whoever it is, they are much better than the Shinwani who used to just wait at home. That evening, Gu Shen and I met again. He said he wanted to treat me to a meal, and after some thought, I agreed. The place he chose was a very high-end Japanese restaurant, the kind that requires booking a month in advance. We sat in the private room. He poured me wine and asked how my consideration was going. I've considered it, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, I can cooperate with you. Let him know it's you. No problem. But I have one condition. Speak. I want truly fall in love with you. And you shouldn't pretend to. We'll each get what we need, and then we'll be done. He laughed. Deal. The meal was very enjoyable. I found Gu Shen, despite his sharp tongue, to be surprisingly interesting. He said his greatest hobby since childhood had been to oppose Lou Sikhen, to snatch projects Lou Sikhen coveted, to pursue women Lou Sikhen had pursued. Anything that could annoy him, he was happy to do. So how many women Lou Sikhen has pursued have you pursued? I asked. He thought for a moment. About 5 or 6. How many did you get? 2 or 3. And then what? Then we broke up. He shrugged. I didn't really like them anyway. I looked at him, and suddenly asked, is that how you feel about me too? He paused for a moment. Then, with a rare seriousness. He looked at me. Shinwani. Actually, He hesitated and didn't finish his sentence. I didn't press further. After dinner, he drove me home. The car stopped downstairs from my building, and he suddenly said, Shinwani, do you know what you've been like these past few years? What? Like a cut flower, he said, placed in water. It looks alive, but its roots have long since rotted away. I didn't say anything. You should be replanted in the soil. That night, I didn't get out of the car. What happened later, I don't want to elaborate on. I only remember that night, for the first time. I felt that I could actually be seen as a woman, that I could have desires, could have impulses, could have that long-lost feeling of being cherished. Gushin is not a good person. I know that. But the way he looked at me, at least, was real. Unlike Lu Sikhen, when he looked at me, his eyes were already empty. That afternoon, I was leaning in Gushin's arms, catching my breath, and he was playing with my hair, teasing me. He slapped me. He didn't get angry, but instead smiled, and lowered his head to kiss me. Shall I carry you to the bath? Then. The door opened. The three of them froze simultaneously. Lu Sikhen stood at the doorway, his face ashen. Gushin saw him, and the corner of his lips slowly curled up. I looked at Lu Sikhen, and my heart suddenly felt very light. He's finally back. Finally. I get to see the scene. Gushin put me down, and I stood there wrapped in the quilt. Lu Sikhen rushed forward and punched Gushin in the face. Bitch. Get on my wife. Gushin stumbled back a step, then threw a punch, smashing it into Lu Sikhen's jaw. How dare you hit me? The two men wrestled together. I stood by, wrapped in a blanket, and watched for a while. Stop fighting. No one listened. I raised my voice. I said stop fighting. The two of them stopped and both looked at me. I glanced at Gushin. You go first. Gushin wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, glanced at Lu Sikhen, and let out a cold laugh. He dressed, and before leaving, he lowered his head and kissed my cheek. Lu Sikhen was about to rush forward again, but I reached out and stopped him. Gushin walked to the door, looked back at Lu Sikhen, and said in a light, airy tone, if you ask me, you're the stupidest one. The door closed. The bedroom fell silent. Lu Sikhen panted, staring at me. There was no expression on my face. Why? His voice was hoarse, unlike his own. I looked at him, saying nothing. I'm asking you why. He roared. I spoke slowly, my voice calm. Lu Sikhen, didn't you tell me to go out and look? He froze. I thought. You thought. I cut him off. You thought I couldn't swallow my pride. You thought I could only grit my teeth and bear it. You thought I'd just stay home crying over you. My rotten cucumber. I smiled. A light smile. But my eyes reddened. Lu Sikhen. You think too highly of yourself. How come I never realized before that you're such a sore loser? He stood there, unable to utter a single word. I turned and walked into the bathroom, the door closing behind me, followed by the sound of running water. I stood under the shower, letting the hot water wash over me. I cried. I didn't know why I was crying. For the next few days, Lu Sikhen seemed like a different person. He turned down all social engagements and returned home punctually every day. He cooked dinner himself, although his culinary skills were poor. Half of the steak he pan-fried was burnt, and the stir-fried vegetables were too salty to eat. He ordered flowers, a bouquet every day, and placed them on my bedside table. While he did these things, I sat on the sofa reading a book or scrolling through my phone, occasionally glancing at him with a placid expression. Evening. That night, he placed a plate of barely edible pasta in front of me. Try it. I glanced at it, but didn't move. He sat down opposite, and after a moment of silence, What I said that day. I was wrong. I looked up at him. I said those bastard words. His voice lowered. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. I'll make up for it for him. Are you trying to say that you just said that casually? And you don't actually feel that way? He nodded. But Lu Sikhen. I put down the book and looked at him. Were the things you said to your friend just casual remarks? His face changed. The thought of someone dying inside her makes me a little uncomfortable. I repeated his words back to him. One by one. For me. I know it's for me. That's why I endured it and didn't say anything. But that doesn't stop me from being disgusted. Does it? He stood up abruptly. When did you hear that? I smiled. Next time we chat, remember to close the door properly. He stood there. His face pale. I stood up and walked towards the stairs, not looking back. Eat it yourself. I'm not hungry. The next day, I returned very late. Lu Sikhen sat in the living room waiting. It wasn't until almost midnight that I entered the door. Where have you been? He stood up. I changed my shoes. Not looking at him. Club activities. What kind of activities go this late? I straightened up, looked at him, and suddenly smiled. Lu Sikhen. Are you checking up on me now? He choked. Your little lovers. I'll speak slowly. Did you check their posts? Wani. I'm tired. I walked past him. He's asleep. He sat in the living room for a long time again. That day. Lu Sikhen made dinner again. He spent 3 hours making 4 dishes and 1 soup, setting a whole table. By the time I returned, it was almost 9 o'clock. I made dinner. Let's eat together, he said. I glanced at the dining table. I've already eaten. His expression froze. You've eaten. With Gushin. His fists clenched. Shinwani. He took a deep breath. Can you please stop mentioning that person? Why can't I mention him? He's my mortal enemy. Oh, I said. What then? You. Lu Sikhen. I interrupted him. When you and Lin Lin were in Switzerland. Did you ever think about what I was doing at home? When you slept with other women? Did you ever think I was your wife? When you found my pregnant belly disgusting? Did you ever think about how that child was lost? The faster I spoke, the louder my voice became. That child was lost because I rushed forward to take the beating for you. What did you say then? You said you would only have me in this life. That you wouldn't fail me. And later you found me repulsive. I didn't. You didn't. Then why didn't you mention the child? You didn't. Then why do you always run to Lin Lin when you're drunk? You didn't. Then why did you make me go out and look for her? Enough. He roared. I stopped and looked at him. His eyes reddened. His lips trembled. I suddenly felt very tired. Forget it. I turned and walked upstairs. You eat. I'm not hungry. He stood there, watching my retreating figure disappear at the stairwell. Then he left the house. He probably drove to Linlin's place. I don't know what he went through that night. I only knew that the next day, Lin Lin was sent away. His assistant handled it. An apartment, a sum of money, and a plane ticket abroad. Lin Lin cried and refused to go, and was carried into the car by security guards. Then he went home. I was drinking tea in the living room when I saw him enter. I raised my eyes slightly, then lowered them again. He walked over and sat down opposite me. Linlin's matter, he said, is taken care of. I didn't say anything. I saw the messages she sent. I picked up my teacup and took a sip. Wani. He leaned forward. I never let her say those words. I don't know. I know you don't. He froze. I put down my teacup and looked at him. Do you think I care about those photos she sent? Then you. Lu Sikhen. I said slowly. When she messaged me, I was thinking about a question. What is it? I was wondering how the man who knelt before me for 3 hours back then became like this. His expression changed. You forgot. You forgot how that child was lost. You forgot you said I was the only one for you in this life. You forgot what you owe me. I didn't forget. You forgot. I interrupted him. You only remember the event, but not the feeling. To you, it was just an event. To me, it was a child. I stood up and walked towards the study. When I came out again, I was holding a file bag. I placed the file bag in front of him. He looked down, his face instantly paling. The divorce agreement. Wani, I'm tired of this open marriage thing too. Sign it, I said, my tone flat. He stood up. I want sign. I looked at him. What makes you think? I said, I want a rotten cucumber. His face fell as if had been punched. Lu Sikhen, count for yourself. How many hands have you changed over the years? I said. Lin Lin was how many? Can you even count? What makes you think I take over? I've changed. His voice raspy. I've really changed. So what if you did? I looked at him, my eyes calm. Do you think the problems between us are just about those women of yours? He didn't speak. It's you, I said. It's you who changed. It's you who forgot. It's you who stopped cherishing. You think changing women will solve the problem. You think sending Lin Lin away will make me forgive you. I took a step forward, very close to him. Lu Sikhen, every night these past few years, I've wondered where the man who knelt under the dormitory building went. Where is the man who said, I'm determined to marry you? Where is the man who carried me out of the ancestral hall? My voice finally held a tremor. He's dead. I took a step back. He died the year I turned 21. Died under that board. The one who lived afterward was someone else. This person found me repulsive. This person sought out other women. This person told me to get out and find someone else. Lu Sikhen clutched his face, slumping onto the sofa, his voice leaking through his fingers. I want sign. I want sign. He suddenly embraced me again, holding me tighter than he had when I was 18. Wani, I don't care. I don't care if you go out and look. Don't divorce me. Don't divorce me. Okay. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Don't divorce me. Don't divorce me. Okay. I looked at him, suddenly feeling utterly bored, and let out a scoff. Lu Sikhen, how can you be so pathetic? He froze. I pushed him away and turned to walk upstairs. Sign the agreement or not. It's up to you. I'll move out tomorrow. He stood there, unmoving for a long time. For the next few days, Lu Sikhen did not come home. I knew he was staying at the company, sleeping on the sofa in his office, knowing he wouldn't dare to return, afraid of seeing the empty villa, afraid of seeing the divorce agreement still on the table, knowing he drank a lot. That night, he got drunk. His friend sighed, took out his phone, and called me. The phone rang for a long time before I finally answered it. Hello. My voice was calm. Sister-in-law. It's me, Xiao Zhou. Brother Chen drank too much and keeps calling your name. Could you come pick him up? There was a few seconds of silence. Then I said, put it on speaker. Xiao Zhou paused for a moment and did as he was told. I heard a clamor from over there. Someone urging drinks. Someone laughing. Then it quieted down. Lu Sikhen, I know you can hear me. You know. I heard everything that day when you were on the phone with your friend. I said, you say I disgust you, that you despise me because there was a death inside me. I know everything you've said about me to your little lovers since then. How much I disgusted you. You ask me why I've changed. I'm telling you, I haven't changed. I've just finally understood. My voice was very level, as if I were talking about someone else. You know perfectly well we can't go back. So what are you doing now? Calling my name when you're drunk. What's the point? Do you think this will make me soften? Lu Sikhen, Shinwani, who took the beating for you, is long dead. She died when that child was lost. She died when you said you were disgusted. She died when Lin sent me photos. The one you love now is the person in your memory. Not me. Stop calling. The call ended. The private room was quiet. His friend looked at him, unsure of what to say. He lay there, his shoulders trembling. Lu Sikhen finally signed the divorce agreement. His hand trembled as he signed. But he signed nonetheless. I took half of the property, as stipulated by law. I didn't ask for a cent more. On the day I left, I was waiting at the airport. The phone rang. It was Gushin. I picked it up. Heard you're leaving. His voice was flippant. Then what should I do? I chuckled. Gushin, you don't like me that much, do you? There was a 1-second silence on the other end. You just feel that by winning me over, you've defeated him, I said. The divorce is done now. Haven't you won enough? Gushin let out a laugh. Shinwani, you're too smart. Men get scared of that. Then let fear go, I said. I'm boarding. Wait. He called out to me, although that was the initial intention. Later on, he paused. Never mind. It's nothing. Have a good trip. Thank you. I hung up the phone. I took out my SIM card, glanced at it, and then threw it into the trash can. The boarding announcement sounded. I stood up, picked up my simple luggage, and walked towards the boarding gate. Outside the window, a plane was taking off, soaring towards the blue sky. I didn't look back. 3 months later, a small southern town. Evening. I sat in a rattan chair in my small courtyard, a cup of tea in my hand. The garden was planted with my favorite gardenias, and the air was filled with their fragrance. My phone rang. It was a local number. Teacher Shin, can we add 2 sessions to next week's oil painting class? Many students want to sign up. I smiled. All right. I'll make the arrangements. After hanging up the phone, I leaned back in the rattan chair, gazing at the sunset clouds on the horizon. It was very quiet, very comfortable. I suddenly remembered that many years ago, Lu Sikhen asked me, Wani, what kind of life do you want to live in the future? At that time, I said, I want to live in a quiet place, grow many flowers, and bask in the sun every day. He laughed at me for being a failure. Now I'm truly living this kind of life. Without him, the phone rang again. An unknown number, with a Port City area code. I glanced at it and didn't answer. The phone rang for a long time, then finally stopped. I picked up my teacup and took a sip. The setting sun fell upon me, warm. From afar came the laughter of children, and my neighbor was cooking. The smell of oil smoke drifting over, mingling with the fragrance of gardenias. I closed my eyes. Suddenly, many images flashed through my mind. At 17, he knelt for 3 hours beneath the dormitory building. At 18, he said, in a few years, we'll get married. At 20, we got our marriage certificate in a rented apartment, and he spun me around in his arms. At 21, he held my hand and said, you're the only one I have in this life. At 28, I sat alone in a rattan chair in the small courtyard, watching the sunset. Those scenes flickered past like a movie, frame by frame. Then they slowly faded. I opened my eyes. The sun had already set, with only a final streak of red remaining on the horizon. I stood up, stretched, and walked inside. The phone rang again. It was the same number. I picked it up, looked at it for a moment, then pressed reject, and then blocked the number. The room was lit with a warm yellow light, and a plate of freshly cut fruit, which I had bought that afternoon, was on the dining table. I sat down, picked up a piece of apple, and took a bite. Crisp, sweet, The sound of the evening breeze drifted in from outside the window, rustling the gardenia blossoms. I suddenly smiled. So life could be this good. So I could live like this even after leaving him. The 17-year-old girl didn't have to wait for the boy kneeling in the rain. Because she had waited. And she had waited for herself. Finally able to turn and leave. The night breeze blew in, carrying the scent of flowers. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. I had to get up early tomorrow for class at the studio. Life goes on. It's good. Extra. Lu Sikhen. 1. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of the hotel suite, gazing at the snow-capped mountains outside. The snow in Switzerland was blindingly white. I promised Shinwani many times that I would take her skiing in Switzerland. But each time, before we could leave, it would be cancelled for various reasons. Company matters, friends' invitations, or my mistress throwing a tantrum. Later, she stopped mentioning it. Lin made a fuss about this many times after finding out. So I've actually been to Switzerland with Lin quite a few times over the years. It was the same this time. My phone rang. A spending notification. VCA jewelry. Deducted 326,000. I looked at the message, and the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl upwards. 320,000. What did she buy? A bracelet, a necklace, or those earrings she said she liked before? She never touched my money before. I got her that supplementary card 5 years ago, and she barely used it once a year. She'd look at the price tag before buying clothes, and she was even more reluctant to buy a handbag, always saying, "It's too expensive," or "It's unnecessary." Now, in one go, over 300,000 yuan is gone. I smiled. It's good. I like her this way. Vibrant, willful, buying whatever she pleased, unlike the previous few years, when she'd been cooped up in that villa, polite to everyone she met, always standing half a step behind me at events, smiling like an exquisite but lifeless artificial flower. She seemed to have reverted to the girl from many years ago who would call me by my full name. Back then, she called me Lu Sikhen, not husband, and certainly not the silence that followed. She would argue with me, get angry, and throw things. Once I made her angry. She threw my pillow out of the bedroom and pointed to the door, saying, "Go sleep on the sofa." I went to sleep on the sofa with a smile, and secretly snuck back in the middle of the night, only to find that she hadn't locked the door at all. Later, she stopped arguing. Perhaps she's finally come of age. A few days ago, a friend asked me if my sister-in-law had fallen for someone else. No, that's impossible. How could Shinwani possibly fall for someone else? She still cares about me, doesn't she? Otherwise, why would she start dressing up? Otherwise, why would she spend so much money? Her phone rang again. Another spending notification. Dior Haute Couture pre-order. 157,000 yuan charged. I burst out laughing. Chingu, what are you looking at? A sweet, coquettish voice came from behind me. Lin hugged me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder, and glanced at my phone screen. The madam has been spending quite a bit lately, she said. I ignored her. She observed my expression and added, "The madam has been dressing up so beautifully lately. Surely it's not for some young gigolo on the outside." The smile froze on my lips. I put my phone away, turned around, and looked at her. She flinched at my gaze, but still forced herself to act coy. "What's wrong?" I was just kidding. "What's your status?" My voice was cold. She froze. "Brother Chen." I grabbed her hair, pulling it back, forcing her to tilt her head up to look at me. "A mistress," I said, word for word. "And you're talking about my wife." Tears welled up in her eyes from the pain. Her lips trembling. "I'm sorry, Brother Chen. I'm sorry. I was wrong." I let go, watching her fall to the ground. She curled into a ball, sobbing and covering her hair, her makeup smeared, looking utterly pathetic. Suddenly, I felt bored, truly bored. I remembered Shinwani. I remembered when she was 17. So angry with me she stomped her feet and pointed at my nose, yelling, "Lu Sikhen, are you crazy?" Back then, her eyes were bright, her cheeks flushed, like a little cat whose fur had been ruffled. I remembered when she was 18, curled up in my arms watching a movie, and fell asleep halfway through, drooling on my shirt. I looked down at her. She was sleeping soundly, a faint smile on her lips. I remembered when she was 21, lying in a hospital bed, pale but still smiling at me. "It's okay, we're still young." That child was gone. It was because of me. She took that blow for me, and the child was lost. But she was still smiling at me. "It's okay. We're still young." At that time, I thought, in this life, I could never let her down. And then, I don't know what happened to me. Every time I saw her, I thought of that child, and that it was my fault. I can't get past that hurdle. I don't know how to face her, so I hide. I hide at the office. I hide in social engagements. I hide in the arms of other women. I thought this would make me feel better, but it didn't. I just kept pushing her further and further away. Now she's started spending money, started dressing up, started going out. I should be happy, but why? Then, am I so flustered inside? Brother Chin. Lin was still sitting on the ground, timidly calling out to me. I didn't look at her. I picked up my phone and called my assistant. "Book a flight, the earliest one back to Port City." "Understood, Mr. Lu." I hung up the phone and went back to the bedroom to pack my things. Lin followed me in. "Brother Chen, you're leaving. Didn't you promise to go skiing with me?" I ignored her. She tugged at my sleeve. "Brother Chen, I was wrong. I shouldn't have spoken ill of your wife. Please don't go, okay?" I shook her hand off. Lin, I said. "Put yourself in your place." She stopped talking. I picked up the suitcase and walked out. When I reached the door, I paused. "Go back where you belong." I didn't turn around. "Behave yourself. You'll get everything you're owed. Not a cent less." "Chingu." She called after me. I closed the door. 2. The plane cut through the clouds, and outside the window was a vast expanse of white. I leaned back against the seat, closing my eyes. She was all I could think about. The hateful things I said during our argument that day now felt like knives twisting in my heart. You want dignity. If you wanted dignity, you wouldn't have gotten together with me at 17. When she was 17, I was the one who shamelessly pursued her. I knelt downstairs in her dorm for 3 hours before she finally came down, unable to bear it any longer. She left with me because I pursued her relentlessly. If you had any shame, would you have slept with me when you were barely 18? By the time she turned 18, we had already been together for over a year. It was my birthday that day. She had a little to drink. Her face flushed red as she leaned on my shoulder. I was the one who lost control. It was me. If you had any shame, you wouldn't have had someone die in your belly at 21. How did that child die? It was because of me. It was because she rushed forward to take the beating for me. She took the beating for me, lost the child, and still smiled at me from her sickbed. What did I say to her? I said, "In this life, I have only you, and I will not fail you." What happened later? I was drinking with a friend and said, "The thought of someone having died inside her makes me a little uncomfortable. Am I human? No, I'm not. I'm just a bastard." I opened my eyes and looked at the clouds outside the window. The plane still had 10 hours. In 10 hours, I would see her. I had to tell her I was sorry. I had to tell her those awful things weren't meant. I had to tell her I loved her. Always had, and always would. Will she believe it? She definitely will. She loves me very much. 3. The plane landed at 3 in the afternoon. I didn't have the driver pick me up. I drove myself. As the car drove into the villa complex, getting closer and closer to the house, my heart beat faster and faster. 8 years. We've been married for 8 years. The first 2 years were fine. But then, it became like this. I parked the car at the entrance and noticed the light in the foyer was on. Normally, she wouldn't be home at this hour. She's been very active lately. Is she home? I pushed open the door. On the floor of the entryway lay a pair of men's leather shoes. I froze. I looked down at the shoes. Black. A very new style. And not mine. I walked in. On the living room carpet, a man's suit jacket was thrown down. It was dark gray. Made of good material. Not mine. On the stair railing, a tie was draped. It wasn't mine either. My mind went blank. A buzzing void. I stood at the foot of the stairs, afraid to go up. But I went up anyway, step by step, treading on the stairs, producing a dull sound. The door to the bedroom on the second floor is slightly ajar, and sounds are coming from inside. A woman's laughter, soft, laced with a satisfied languor. That was her voice. I have heard her laugh like that. In the first 2 years of our marriage, she laughed just like that. Then came the man's voice. All right. Shall I carry you to take a shower? She said. My hand turned into a fist. I pushed the door open. The bed was a mess, and the air was thick with the scent of aftermath. She was leaning in the arms of a man who was bare-chested and about to lift her up. The three of them froze at the same time. That man. I know him. Gu Shin. The heir of the Gu family. My sworn enemy since college. She was wrapped in a blanket, with marks of passion all over her exposed shoulder and collarbone. She saw me standing at the door, her expression showing little change, as if looking at a stranger. Gu Shin saw me, and the corners of his mouth slowly curled up into that infuriating smile. Put me down, she said. Gu Shin set her down. She stood by the bed, wrapped in a blanket, looking at me. I rushed up and punched Gu Shin in the face. Bitch. Get off my wife. Gu Shin stumbled back a step, then swung a fist that landed on my chin. How dare you hit me? We grappled with each other. I beat him like a madman, and he beat me back just as crazily. Stop hitting. Her voice came from the side, very calm. We didn't stop. I said stop hitting. She raised her voice. We stopped and all looked at her. She glanced at Gu Shin. Go ahead. Gu Shin wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, glanced at me, and let out a cold laugh. He got dressed, and before leaving, he leaned down and kissed her cheek. I wanted to rush forward, but she reached out to stop me. Gu Shin walked to the door, turned back to look at me, his tone light and airy. I have to say, you are the dumbest one here. The door closed. The bedroom fell silent. I panted heavily, staring at her. Her face was devoid of any expression, like a stagnant pool of water. Why? My voice was hoarse, unrecognizable. She looked at me, saying nothing. I ask you why? I shouted. She slowly spoke, her voice very calm. Weren't you the one who told me to go out and look for it? I was stunned. I thought. You think. She interrupted me. You think I can't swallow my pride. You think I can only grit my teeth and swallow blood. You think I can only stay at home crying over a rotten cucumber you left behind. She laughed. A light laugh. But her eyes were red. Lu Sicheng. You think too highly of yourself. I stood there, unable to say a word. She turned and walked into the bathroom. The door closed, and the sound of water followed. I stood in the messy bedroom, suddenly feeling my legs go weak. I leaned against the wall and slowly crouched down. My head is buzzing. It was me who told her to go out and look. It was the thing I said. It's really lonely. Why don't you go out and look too? I am really stupid. So stupid. 4. Later. We argued again. I stood in place, watching her figure disappear at the stairway. Then I walked out the door. I didn't know where to go. By the time I came to my senses, I was already standing at Linlin's doorstep. When Linlin opened the door, her face was filled with surprise. Chingu, what brings you here? I didn't say anything and walked in. She followed behind me, chattering about something. I didn't want to listen. Sitting on the sofa, pouring a glass of wine, she sat beside me, watching me carefully. My phone rang. It was a spending message. Another 100,000. I stared at that message, my eyes stinging. She leaned over to take a look and whispered, "Madam is spending money again." I looked up and shot her a cold glance. She immediately fell silent. After a while, she said she was going to take a shower and went into the bedroom. I leaned back on the sofa, eyes closed. The bedroom door wasn't closed tightly, and I could hear her voice inside. She was on the phone. Ha 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 ha. I told you so. They won't last long. Her voice was laced with laughter. I sent her so many photos. Which woman can stand that? The person across from her said something unknown, and she laughed again. So what? I already told her about my pregnancy. No matter what. She can't hold on to the position of Mrs. anymore. Once I have this baby. I stood up. I walked to the bedroom door and pushed it open. She was holding her phone. When she saw me, her face instantly turned pale. Chunga. I stepped inside. What did you send her? She stepped back. I asked you what you sent. I snatched her phone and scrolled through the chat history. Those photos, those messages, all of them are there. I stood there, staring at the screen, my hands trembling. Her voice was shaking. Chingu, I just wanted her to back off. I looked up at her. Have I ever told you? My voice was soft and slow. To know your place and not to provoke my lady. She fell to her knees with a thud. Chingu, I was wrong. I want dare again. I slapped her without saying a word and turned to walk out. 5. The next day, I had my assistant send her away. A plane ticket to go abroad. Don't let her come back to bother me again. She cried and refused to leave, and was escorted to the car by security. Then I went to the hospital. I watched the doctor examine her. When the results came out, the doctor said, "Mr. Liu, this lady is not pregnant." I nod my head, saying nothing. She turned and left. On the way home, I kept thinking about what she had said. I sent her so many photos. What woman could tolerate that? How many did she send? What did she send? When did she send it? I never knew. She never told me. Those photos, those messages, those provocations. She carried it all alone, never telling me. Why didn't she tell me? Because I was no longer trustworthy. Because she knows that even if she tells me, it won't make a difference. Because I am no longer the person who would stand up for her. I am the one who encouraged her to go out and seek. The car stopped at the villa's entrance. I sat in the car, not moving for a long time. Then I got out and walked inside. She was drinking tea in the living room, saw me come in, lifted her eyes for a moment, then looked down again. I walked over and sat down across from her. Linlin's matter, I said, has been taken care of. She remained silent. I know about the messages she sent. She picked up her teacup and took a sip. Late intention. I leaned forward. Those words. I never let her send. I don't know. I know you don't know. I was stunned. She put down her teacup and looked at me. Do you think I care about those photos she posted? Then you, Liu Sicheng, she said slowly. When she sent the message, I was thinking about one question. What's the problem? I was thinking about how that man who knelt for 3 hours for me has become like this now. My expression changed. You've forgotten, she said. You forgot how that child was lost. You forgot you said in this lifetime it would only be me. You forgot what you owe me. I haven't forgotten. You forgot. She interrupted me. You only remember the event, but not the feeling. To you, it was just an event. To me, it was a child. She stood up and walked towards the study. When she came out again, she was holding a file folder. She placed the file folder in front of me. I looked down, and my face turned pale all of a sudden. Divorce agreement. Late intentions. I've grown tired of open marriages and the like, she said, her tone very flat. Just sign it. I stood up. I won't sign. She looked at me. What makes you think, she said, that I would want a rotten cucumber? Count for yourself. How many hands have you passed it through over the years? She said. Which number is Lin Lin? Can you keep track? What makes you think I would take it over? I've changed, I said hoarsely. I really have changed. So what if you have changed? She looked at me, her eyes very calm. Do you think the problems between us are just about your women? I didn't say a word. It's you, she said. It's you who has changed. It's you who has forgotten. It's you who no longer cherishes. Do you think changing women will solve the problem? Do you think sending Lin Lin away will make me forgive you? She took a step forward, very close to me. Lu Siqing. For all these years, I've thought every night about where that man who knelt under the dormitory building went. Where did the man who said I'm definitely marrying you go? Where did the man who carried me out of the ancestral hall go? Her voice finally trembled slightly. He died. She took a step back. I died in the year I turned 21. Under that board. The one who lived on is another person. This person finds me annoying. This person looks for other women. This person tells me to go out and find someone. She turned and walked upstairs. Whether you sign the agreement or not is up to you. I will move out tomorrow. I stood there, unmoving for a long time. 6. Later, I signed the agreement. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, staring at the divorce agreement. Her name was already signed, just waiting for my signature. I picked up the pen, then put it down again. Pick it up, then put it down. In the end, I threw the pen onto the coffee table and sat there, holding my head. Her words were all that filled my mind. He is dead. The boy kneeling in the rain is dead. The man who said, I will marry you, is dead. The one who rushed out of the shrine holding her is dead. So who is this living one now? He's a bastard. He's a bastard who makes her cry. He's a bastard who makes her uncomfortable. He's a bastard who makes her go out and look for it. I don't deserve her. I've never deserved her. That morning, I went to find her. She saw me and said nothing. Late intention. I picked up the agreement and signed it. Signed. She took the agreement and glanced at it. Thank you. Just those 2 words. She is leaving. Wait. I called out to her again. She turned back. That money, I said. You keep it. Don't be frugal. She didn't say a word. Take good care of yourself. My voice trembled a little. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, You too. She left. Really left. I lowered my head, looking at the empty file bag on the coffee table. The sunlight streamed in through the window, landing on it. It was very bright, but my eyes could see nothing at all. 7. 3 months later, I stood in the airport terminal, watching the flight information on the big screen. The flight to that small southern town would take off in 2 hours. I bought the ticket. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I just want to catch a glimpse of her. Maybe I want to tell her, I've changed. I really have. Maybe I don't want to say anything at all. just to look at her from afar. The phone rang. It was a message from Xiao Zhou. Chingu, are you really going? I didn't reply. I walked to the boarding gate and sat down to wait. The waiting hall was bustling with people. Some hurried by dragging their suitcases. Some were soothing their children. And others leaned against the window watching the planes take off and land. Suddenly, I remembered many years ago. She was just like one of those people, walking out of the orphanage, dragging a small suitcase. Coming to the port city for university. At that time, she had nothing. Now she has nothing, except for the wounds I brought her. The boarding announcement sounded. I stood up and followed the crowd forward. When I reached the door of the cabin, I stopped. I stood there, watching the plane outside. Then I turned around and walked back. The flight attendant shouted from behind, Sir, aren't you boarding? I ignored her. I walked out of the airport and stood outside to smoke. The wind was strong, scattering the ash everywhere. I looked up at the sky. A plane is taking off, soaring into the blue sky. Is that her flight? I don't know. The phone rang. It was Xiao Zhou. Chingu, have you boarded the plane? No. Why? I watched as the airplane grew smaller and smaller, until it became a dot and disappeared into the clouds. Forget it, I said. What do you mean? Forget it. Let her go. I hung up the phone. He lit another cigarette. The wind continued to blow, and the ash scattered. The plane was no longer visible. Pretty good. She finally left, leaving behind the city that made her cry, leaving behind the man who disgusted her, leaving behind the cage that had trapped her for 11 years. She should go to a better place, live a better life, meet better people. As for me, I deserve it.